Kia ora, hello, I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you so much for joining us for our Friday weather update for October the 21st. And we've got a big high pressure zone out in the Tasman Sea, but that is actually altering the weather in both New Zealand and Australia. Let me explain. Here is the high. There's a southerly on the New Zealand side, dropping temperatures, and over on the Australian side, a lot of low pressure, which you can see in the dark colours. In fact, quite surprising that it covers most of the continent of Australia. That is bringing instability. That's why we're seeing localised downpours and thunderstorms, and that northerly flow out of the Coral Sea helping to encourage some of those heavier downpours. And this time maybe moving a little bit more into coastal areas of Queensland, for example. But in New Zealand, the high rolls in, the southerly fades out. That means we've got frosts on the way. Take a look at this animation from Predict Wind. This goes from last night, Thursday night, through till lunchtime Saturday. What you're looking for, a couple of areas. One is the high pressure zone in the Tasman expanding and consolidating. The other part of it, the southerly flow around New Zealand here on Friday, and the northerly flow here in Australia also on Friday. But as we go in towards Saturday, that high pressure zone in New Zealand expands. A few showers at the top of the country, but over here in Australia, the position of that high kind of blocks the rainmakers from moving further away. And I call them rainmakers because there's not necessarily a low pressure zone in the area. There's a low down here, sort of, and then to the north another one, but a lot of this wet weather along the eastern side there is being simply blocked by high pressure. So it moves on in and then it stops. So it's not a low, but it is a rainmaker. So here we go for Saturday lunchtime. You can see the high. By the way, when someone says to me, what's the weather forecast for our wedding this weekend? Or we've got a big outdoor event, or there's something on like a Santa parade, I wish that this was the map that I usually could refer to, because it means no work or stress from my side of things. This is a big, beautiful high, perfect for a long weekend, but there will be some frost, and that's not the best news for those who have vineyards. So go to ruralweather.co.nz for our frost forecaster. It's a free service. That will give you more detail than our video will. On the other side, northerlies and rain, low pressure around Bass Strait. That's bringing in a little bit of wet weather for you. Here's a different animation. This is from Predict Wind, showing the swells, or the waves at least, coming through on Saturday. So this is lunchtime Saturday. The main two areas to focus on, the eastern side of the North Island and the eastern side of Australia, at least if you're a surfer. 3 metre swells, or 2 to 3 metre swells coming through there. It may not be ideal weather because the wind matches the direction of the swells in New Zealand, and a little bit over here as well, but there are some swells or waves at least moving through, and of course you can get a lot more detail for anything to do with the marine world from our friends at Predict Wind. Here we are for lunchtime Sunday. That high shifts a little bit more up to the North Island, and now milder winds coming around, lifting temperatures up. So while it's a little bit colder, maybe first thing on Saturday morning, by Sunday morning, warmer with those westerlies, and by Sunday afternoon, some places will be in the mid-20s. It'll be very mild and lovely, and you'll be glad, hopefully, you've got a day off, hopefully. In Australia, low pressure up here in Northern Territories stretches all the way down to New South Wales and the border of Victoria. It's bringing a bit of wet weather. There's another area of low pressure trying to form around the Coral Sea, moving in towards the coastal parts of Queensland and New South Wales. So it's a messy forecast. And also our friends over here in Adelaide, who we don't talk about as often as we should, a bit of wet weather coming in for you with a windy sou'easter. Let's take a look at that rainfall. Don't worry, New Zealand, we've got more coming up for you, but just wanted to talk about this because it is a significant rain event. So in these areas here around St George and Moree and Barradine, we're talking around about 80 to 100 millimetres of rain. This is through till Sunday night, from now when you're watching to Sunday night. Now, a little bit of this rain may have fallen in the last 12 hours, but there is still a bit more on the way. So the main area of concern up here, different flood risks to the north than there are to the south. Now around Victoria, you're talking about 30 to 50 millimetres. That's still enough to cause problems because of the rain you've already had, but it shouldn't be something that's going to cause major problems unless on a very localised sort of way, maybe a thunderstorm or something like that. But otherwise, that is the rain forecast coming up. And obviously you get more information from the Bureau of Meteorology. Let's take a look at Monday. So in New Zealand for the long weekend, it is looking pretty good in the North Island, but not so flash in the south. There's a cold front coming in. Now, if I lived in the South Island, I wouldn't be too unhappy. No mowing lawns, no having to go outside and do any work. hopefully, you can sleep in and blame the weather for it. If you need a note, let us know. It might be a little windy in the North Island later into the day, but it's mostly dry. In Australia on Monday, 2 low pressure systems. Quite a cool looking map actually, with the low in Western Australia and the other one here near Adelaide and just to the east of it. So this is encouraging a windy setup, mostly due to the high over New Zealand, which is pushing back against it all. So the rain in Queensland slides down the coast, moves into coastal New South Wales, South Australia and Victoria and Tasmania. Tasmania will be very windy. Queenstown in Tasmania, blustery nor'easters coming through for you. As we move through to Tuesday, no change in Tasmania. Windy, a little bit wet, especially in the north. Not too bad in Hobart, only a couple of showers coming through for you. And in Melbourne, the sun's coming back out again, even though you got low pressure over the top of you. Got to be a little careful with that. It might be cloudy, but it won't be pouring with rain necessarily the entire time. And the reason for the New Zealand viewers, why I'm talking so much about Australia, is because we don't really have much to talk about. Things are very settled for New Zealand as we move through into next week. And as we carry on through next week, no real change again. Still got high pressure in the north. Another southwest change moves through, and we've still got this low stuck here around the southern or southeastern parts of Australia. But look at the high pressure trifecta. 1, 2, 3, and they're all quite strong, powerful highs, quite far south. So that's blocking off Southern Ocean storms and big, wintry southerlies. So now we're seeing La Nina trying to get going. This is going to be helping it. And for those in the tropics, I don't talk enough about you, but the weather in spring is not very interesting in the tropics. A lot of easterlies, showers. I'm pretty sure half of you guys don't even check the forecast because it never changes. But now you're getting into that season. The cyclone season kicks off November 1, and we've got low pressure stuck around Fiji for a few days. So the rainfall totals around Fiji are going to be going up, at least for the next week ahead. Pretty wet weather really for the rest of October around Fiji, also northern parts of Vanuatu. That's all from me. Have a great long weekend, and we'll see you again on Tuesday. For more details, go to weatherwatch.co.nz and ruralweather.co.nz.